balls in the sky, you have to dodge objects. It's a really simple game. But instead of talking more about me, you could ask me about my personal history, whatever, afterwards. I really want to talk more about like what you guys want to do and to get, especially you guys, since you're in high school, starting on your projects, and then get you with the correct context to get you started on whatever project that you want to start on.
Yeah.
So the major thing to even start making a game is think Nike. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just do it. My friend John used to tell me that all the time, like even when it came to like talking to girls or just do it. And that's kind of like a weird thing to think of, like, how do I even start a video game? I don't know where to go. Well, here's your first step right here. If you don't know where to go, you're already doing it, and that's cool. What we're going to go over today is creativity and scope scale. Making sure that you start small instead of trying to make the next World of Warcraft or Minecraft. Seriously, if you do that, I am going to kick you right now. Mostly because I tried to do that, okay? So I'm saving you. Next is like the tools that you guys will want to look into and what's affordable. You are not going to use professional grade tools in terms of $4,000 things. 3ds Max is expensive, okay? Just saying. I'm also going to, just get you the correct connections and make sure you do get a product out there, even if it's only one day that you work on it. You do it, okay? So essentially, just do it, okay? So I know you're a programmer. What do you guys want to look into? Like art, programming, sound, game design in general, or business? Because there's a lot of aspects to game design.
Kind of like art of it and like, I don't know, maybe trying to work with the movements because I've seen like, in trying to do stuff like that with e-models, they're really difficult and weird to try to move, so yeah, figuring out stuff like that.
So like 3D modeling and stuff like that, but more towards the animation side? Cool.
Yeah, the same, but along with sound and also along with animation, like the realistic.
Oh, okay, so like graphic fidelity.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are really interesting areas to be in right now because there's this huge graphics push that NVIDIA and AMD are doing right now. So first of all, have you done any 3D modeling at all?
I have in my film classes, both of my film classes that I take.
Okay. Did you take that over at CEC or?
At my school.
Oh, at your school. Where do you take it? Or
At Trisco.
Where?
At Trisco Heritage.
Oh, okay.
Outskirts of town.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. You go to the same school?
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, gosh, you guys are lucky.
It's
We didn't actually have anything too much like that. Like we had a computer graphics course at my high school, and it was a 4-year track. I mean, I got to learn Photoshop, I got to learn Flash, and I got to learn Lightwave. I think that's what it is. That's the 3D modeling program. So in terms of you guys, it's really learning like classic animation first, and you've probably gone over this within your class, but learning like even how to start moving a ball, like the bouncing. My friend Brian, who is a Blender guru, he was featured on their website. He helped he did technical editing for a book. He explained the animation process that he does best, where he's like, okay, so think of like how you would move a box, even. How does the box move? Is it being moved violently? So if it's moved violently, first you need to get it from here to here. And if it's moved violently, it might tip over, or it might slide along this way. So what kind of personality does this box have in the first place, And it's really thinking about that and breaking it down, like what you want. And this may not necessarily go to games necessarily, but in any media form that we're doing digitally now, that kind of goes into it. So in terms of games itself, like what I'm doing, let's say I'm trying to come up with the control for Skypets, you know. I spent like a good week or two working on that and trying to get the feel of the sliding of the finger, like the swipe. So going from this box that's right here, like just how does that actually animate? And that's stuff that you actually have to start thinking about, you know.
Because you have to think about the angle, the height, the distance.
And not just that, but the feeling that you want to convey on screen of this box. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if it's a fun box, it will kind of bounce around and do like this crazy thing. It's kind of like the Cartoon Network symbol. They have like this quick little 5-second intro that says Cartoon Network, and it goes doom 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 doom, and this box bounces around. It's really fast, but it makes a real big impact on what they're trying to convey, who their identity is, and all it is like this box that goes, and that's it. So there's a lot of feeling and emotion that goes into simple animations like that. So when it actually goes over into games, something that's higher fidelity like Beyond Two Souls, yeah, I mean, technically right now, if you don't count the PS4 stuff, that's kind of like the highest fidelity we have.
Yeah.
They have live actors, they have mocap going on, they have, you know, full rendered scenes. You know, it's really good. In terms of interaction, maybe not the best, but in terms of like what they're doing in real time, it's really cool stuff. So you have to just kind of break it down. And then for you guys, you have to figure out what area you want to do. You say animation. Did you say animation? Okay. So, I mean, there's character animation, there's, you know, you can do mechanical animation, you could do rigging, you could do, there's a lot of stuff. And then if you get into modeling, there's also like environment modeling, there's particle modeling, there's character modeling, stuff like that. And that's just modeling. And then there's rigging and then animation as well. A lot of stuff goes into that. But what I recommend now, even before you start doing that, I know you guys already know how to, or at least you started doing 3D stuff, is get back to the 2D stuff for a little bit. And actually do it like on paper, maybe even a flip pad. Just like getting through that. I know it's weird, like why are we stepping back? But it's to get that classic mentality into you, like what they've learned, and then build upon it. Because there's this huge resource of information. So I'm gonna go over to him really quick and get back to just the generalness. Like, what do you want to start doing? Because I know you have a huge background in like CS and everything, and you have a good platform to start on.
Yeah, that's programming is just going to be my main thing. But when it comes to game design, like as you said, not going too big of a scope, but even though small things.
Yeah.
But when it happens to me, it's like I'm more of the programmer, so anything out of 16-bit graphics, it becomes too hard and it actually slows down me coding. So it's not that I can't program it, but it just becomes creating the graphics and actually trying to do animation just becomes hard and slows me down, and then that becomes too much of a problem. I understand how to embed Lua into my C++ applications and all that stuff, but if I can't get everything to flow smoothly with the animations, it becomes more of a pain on me. And like I don't finish a game, and I just end up creating a tech demo.
Yeah. So that's understandable, and that's like the programmer's fallacy right there. Like you have this really cool game idea, but you don't. It's not pretty looking.
Yeah.
So what you might do, like do that 16-bit or do that ASCII code. Like you've heard of Dwarf Fortress, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a hugely popular game right now, and that's just ASCII art. You're a D, or you're controlling Ds moving throughout the environment. So I guess like the major thing, just do it. I mean, so we do have some artists right here who are eager to start on something, but there's also other people online that if you do want to get some art, there's like a Reddit subgroup,
Really?
Game Dev. Do they have a lot of artists, or are they starving for artists as well? They're kind of starving for artists. They're starving for artists. But there are people who, okay, so probably the best resource to look for is the hashtag pixel art sometimes on Twitter, because people will just post up pixel art, and you're just like, okay, maybe I could talk to this person and we could just make something cool.
Okay.
If you can't do art, then you can't do art. Just don't put your hopes too high up on that and just keep going through it, you know? That's all I can say if you're working on your own. But if you really do want really good art, I'm really lucky in that my girlfriend is an amazing artist. She does traditional painting, and then she also does 2D digital with Illustrator and Photoshop. Also learn Illustrator and Photoshop.
Yes.
I'm learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will help you along. Like I
Hey,
think
Devin,
I think many people
you're a boss with that right now.
I think many people recommend open source stuff. That's because that's what they use. But I mean, if you learn, I took a class on Photoshop and Illustrator. There's a difference. Like there's just a difference in that professional grade. Like when it comes to those Adobe products, I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, if you can, because especially since you're students now, look into getting a Creative Cloud solution. That's what we use. It's a monthly payment, but you get all of the Adobe products.
Actually, in my film classes, the teacher has the Creative Cloud, so we
Okay.
have pretty much all of those.
Yeah, so, I mean, yes, you can learn open source, and some of the solutions are great. Like Blender is a really cool solution, but a lot of places use the professional grade like Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. They will probably not use GIMP. They will probably not use Paint.net. I mean, it's fine if you could create something and it looks presentable, but if you really want to get into like the AAA industry, really make sure to learn those as well. So yeah, like I could get you personally connected to some artists. I don't know a ton, but I know some at least.
Yeah.
So I guess saying like make sure your scope on art is in check, because if you know if that is not your strong suit, don't make it like the strong point of your game.
Okay.
I mean, there's this one game. It's an entire text adventure, but it's really interesting on how they do narrative, because you don't actually have to even interact. The game will just kind of keep playing, but the whole interaction idea is where you know, respond in terms of like the conversation on what's going on in the room. So if like Devin right here just started to get up and start yelling at me for no reason, you know, that doesn't take any graphics. That takes text, you know. So if you can't find an artist, find something else to do. But
Okay.
if you know, if you really do want to do something, just make it 8-bit. I mean, there's a whole indie revolution right now going on, so there's an excuse to do 8-bit right there. So in terms of scope, we kind of talked about like moving the box first, and that's not only my friend Brian saying that, that's Shigeru Miyamoto. Do you guys know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, he made Mario, he made Zelda. He's a really cool guy. He's famous for being quoted saying that when he starts out with a game, he starts with the movement of a box, like getting that feeling right. In terms of your first game, or any game really, it's really getting that core mechanic in. Shanyan and I have been working on Sky Pets for a while now, but the core mechanic was really quick to implement. When I first started working on it, I got the core mechanic in there in an hour. So that shows how quick we were able to actually get that in there. And that's just moving left, right, and falling while bricks are coming up. Now, that was fast, like stupidly fast. But now we're adding in things like you're getting affected by gravity. There's an endless mode where a procedural algorithm creates the level in front of you, almost like a train creating its own tracks. We have character creation. We have all these really great things, but it's starting with that kernel of an idea that's fun, okay? And that's that whole idea on getting there fast. And that's what's really great about game jams also. We'll talk about those more in a second, but for your first game, for both of you, even if you don't learn coding too much, I really do recommend that you learn some. Like, getting at least to, like, objects in C++, Java, at least understanding, like, kind of how that works, and some flow and some scripting. Like, learning JavaScript, that doesn't take too long, and it helps you talk to other people in terms of video games. But it also helps you create your core design. So if you can make Pong within a day, you're already ahead of a lot of people.
I made Pong in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except
I made it with Python, so.
I mean, you can do it in Python, any programming language. It's just actually getting something done. But once you get Pong done, add a twist to it or polish it, okay? Don't spend too long on it, though.
Yeah.
My problem was when I first started making games, nobody was telling me these things. And, you know, there were some people online, but it's not personal like this. I won't go up to you and slap you. Or they won't. I should go up to you and slap you. Nobody tried to slap me, and I really wish somebody did. But essentially, I tried to make a huge RPG based on the game Go, and I was like, oh, I can make it online. And I was still learning how to program, but I had this really stupid idea that I could actually do this. Don't do that. Seriously, I will slap you. I will slap you. No, come sit down if you want. No. But seriously, so it's more about getting through this first batch of work and getting that understanding of how games are made. You could get involved with a lot of really cool programs. I started the Game Developers Club here a few years ago. Devin was in it, and even though we didn't finish our game, we had a pretty cool idea of what it was. It was a top-down stealth game, kind of like Metal Gear, twin-stick shooter, but it was meant to be played more like a speedrun game, where although you're trying not to be seen, you're trying to get through it as fast as possible, and it had this really cool theme of like this space cat, kind of like a 1960s vibe, up against these Russian or communistic platypuses.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. We got kind of feature creep on there though. More Tales of Doom on that. The number one thing that will kill your project is trying to make it too big. Okay? So on creativity, take time and think about it, but don't put too much into it, and refine that core idea. And that's that main thing. I believe it's John Cleese who has this really great talk on creativity. Seriously, look it up. It's where you're just like spending an hour and a half just like refining an idea and coming up with it, playing around in your head. And don't be afraid to experiment with your game. Although you do want to be quick, you do want it to be fun. You guys have any questions yet, by the way?
Basically, you said you went indie, so what did you just do? Did you just make a website, say we're Subliminal Games, and just started?
Kind of. So what happened was, I did work for some software development companies that do things in games. One was an AI game engine, and they're a really cool bunch. They create this engine that does all the AI for you, essentially. I mean, you put in specific, or some things, behavioral trees, essentially, in a graphical manner, and it just kind of goes. But when I say went indie, we started our own LLC, so we're actually incorporated in everything.
Okay.
We just started making games, and yes, we do have a website as well. So it is kind of just like saying, I'm going indie and making games, essentially.
You said you made an LLC. What is?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do that. The reason why I did that was because we're going on to the App Store. Again, you don't have to do this either, but I also wanted to make sure that we were legally safe. I wanted to make sure that my assets were protected. Like, if anybody sued Subliminal Gaming, they couldn't come after me personally. So that's just me doing my own thing, kind of covering my ass.
Yeah,
Sets.
yeah, I've heard of that, but I just didn't know what the process of going about doing that was. So
Yeah, I mean, this is not necessarily a business thing, but it's not too hard.
Okay.
You get your articles of organization, you file with your state or whatever state you're putting the LLC in, and it's a pretty simple process, but make sure to check, what you're doing first. We actually went through LegalZoom.com to help us, and we also got ourselves a service called a registered agent to help us out with that as well.
okay.
So, yeah, that's mostly just so if Subliminal Gaming gets sued, I don't lose a ton of money.
Okay.
But in terms of going indie, it is kind of just that, starting to make a game and taking care of everything yourself. So here's another fallacy. Thinking that your game is so great that you don't have to tell anybody and they'll just find out about it on their own. There's a reason why I'm here with a booth downstairs. I have to let people know, just kind of shout it everywhere I can. 1/3 development time is probably going to go towards your marketing. Well, it's not just advertising because you're not making ads necessarily on websites. You could be doing, you could be spamming about it on Twitter, or you could be doing a video log like me, or you could be trying to engage with your audience on Facebook. It's a huge thing, and it really should be a full-time job for one other person. But if you're going indie, you have to do it all, essentially. Winning awards is good. It helps getting your name out there. But again, let's get this kind of back into our focus thing because we don't want to get too big. We want to help you guys just start out. You shouldn't be worrying about marketing quite yet. So some tools to help you get started out. You probably roll your own solution. You probably use like OpenGL or something like that already, right?
Yeah, OpenGL or like SDL2 just came out, so I used that.
Yeah, so you're pretty comfortable like starting from scratch and like writing your own engine and things like that. You two might not. So when you're first starting out, I don't recommend going his route. That will take you months usually. And if you do want to speed up development, you could get a free game engine. There's a lot of really cool ones out there.
Yeah.
We use Unity 3D. It's a 3D game engine that a ton of people are using. Like it seriously blew up in the past 2 years. Huge. And they have a free solution, but it could also scale up to console development, which we have. We're Nintendo Wii U developers now, so that's really cool. And we're soon going to be getting PlayStation and Microsoft, Xbox One. That's a really cool engine, but I also don't recommend starting out with that one. For you guys, I actually recommend starting out with something like Game Maker. You may laugh, but there are some really cool games that are made from it. Yeah, have you heard of Hotline Miami? Yeah, that was made in Game Maker. So if they can make Hotline Miami in that, you can make a pretty cool game in there. I also recommend, because a lot of teenagers, especially within the anime community, partially because I come from the anime community, want to make an RPG. They want to make a remake of Final Fantasy VII, and it will be awesome. Dear God, I've heard this way too many times. I am so glad I did not say that. I just wanted to make an MMO. Don't make Final Fantasy VII. Somebody else made it already, and it's way better. It's called Square Enix, and this one guy who made a demake already. So don't follow his steps. He was the asshole who proved me wrong. I forget his name too. But you could do RPG Maker. I think that costs money though. So if you don't want to pay money, there is a free one called RPG Toolkit, and that's where I started out. And that's a really cool community there. I don't know if they've updated much lately, but if you want to do a Final Fantasy VI type of game and make it small, dear God, make it small. Go for that. Seriously, it's a really cool engine. I recommend. But for your first game, here's what I recommend to you two. Make a variation on Breakout. That's pretty cool. Variation on Pong, or make a variation on, I don't know. Look at pretty much almost any Atari game and make that instead of anything else. And spend a week on it. Tops. Once, like a work week even. Start on a Monday, and once Friday comes around, if that Friday comes around and there's nothing done, you're done with that game, you move on to something else. Okay? Your deadline is going to be that Friday, essentially. And get it done. Okay? For you, you're way more advanced and you've done software development, so it would be something probably more 3D or something, even if it's like, no?
When it comes to the 3D, like Cause since I use, it's like they go straight into OpenGL. Like the math is what kills me.
Yeah, the math is ridiculously stupid. You have to do a lot of linear algebra and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And that's what I sucked in high school at.
That's okay. I would say,
I probably have to get a 3D engine if I have to do anything.
yeah, so if you're going to do 3D, I recommend getting Unity 3D.
Yeah.
They're really, really great, okay? They work with C Sharp, and they use Unity script, which is I don't want to say a bastardization of JavaScript, but it is pretty close to JavaScript.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, really.
Okay.
I'd recommend doing that and playing around with it.
Yeah.
And once you guys get that game done, move over to something like Unity 3D, unless you want to do something else. Okay. You could also look into something like UDK, which they use for Infinity Blade. It's the Unreal Engine, and they use that also for things like Gears of War. And a bunch of students here at UNM created this game called Alloy in the UDK, and that was a really cool game. I was really jealous. But that's okay. Don't tell them that. And then there's also MonoDevelop and XNA, which might do better for you also if you just want to work purely in code. Even because there still is a huge development community around that, so you might
Microsoft.
be able to get the
Yeah.
yeah. Well, MonoDevelop is actually
Open source. Yeah. Microsoft, man, like they had a good community going. I don't know. They just pretty much said we're not doing XNA anymore.
Yeah,
but people
it
are
really
still.
sucked. They stopped at 4.0 and then
Yeah.
they're like 2012, killing it.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like a lot of people like loved it.
And now,
Yeah.
Maid Cafe. No.
Apparently I have to do stuff.
Oh, okay.
Convention.
Have fun.
Figure.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it because that's what I used when I got my associates in game design.
Yeah, it's a really